Hi everyone, this is Andrew. Today I'll be continuing on with my JavaScript tutorial series, so this will be the 9th tutorial, and we'll be continuing on with our Pathfinder RPG character generator, focusing on Favoured Class. So if you open up the class step and go all the way down the bottom, it talks about Favoured Class, which is basically a class that you choose at character creation, or two classes if you're a half-elf, and each level you can gain a bonus, either +1 hit point or +1 skill rank. But first of all, I'd like to break our file up. So if you look at our file, we've got inside this file, we've got HTML, we have CSS here, we have JavaScript, more HTML. We can often break that up into separate files for each of the components, which is probably a good thing to do. So go ahead and create two new files, just text files. I'll just give them the same name as what I have here. The important part is the extension, so we're going to call this a .css file. Yes, and another new file. I'll just copy and paste that one. With the same name, but we'll have it with the .js JavaScript extension. Okay. Now all we have to do is open up our HTML, our original HTML file. And just say we want to take out the styling, so the CSS, just cut that. Paste it in here. There we go. That's all we have to do for that one. And then for our JavaScript, we'll get to how we implement that soon. For our JavaScript, you just have to select everything, which is quite a big chunk, isn't it? There's our HTML. So anywhere, there we go, the script tag, anything within the script tag, take that out, and we'll put that into our JS file. Just get rid of the tab. That should be right. Let's take a quick look, make sure we haven't done anything silly. Looking good. So this will be the one that we're primarily working in, won't it? This Pathfinder character generator.js file. CSS will probably remain fairly untouched, except if we want to start styling some more stuff, which is a possibility. You could probably make it look a lot nicer. Now, how do we go ahead and use that? Well, in our HTML, because this is the file that will actually run, we need to add a link element. So instead of style, we'll just put link. And inside that, we need to give the property rel, which is short for relationship, I think. And it's a style sheet. We need the type. And the type is of text /CSS. And we need the href, which is basically the file location. Now this is relative. So if it's in the same directory, we don't need to give any file location details. Just put the file name, so it knows that it will automatically look in the current directory doing this. If you put, for example, :this, well, that would obviously go to an explicit file, wouldn't it? But this is relative as it is. Okay, good. Now how about script? Well, similarly, we need a type. It's of text JavaScript, and its source is this. There we go. If you control click on either of these, it'll go to the file, so it makes it very easy for us to get to when we need it. Okay. That should work. Let's try it. So run your HTML. Looking good. Should work as we expect. Just a quick test to make sure it is. Yep. Great. So this our HTML file now only contains HTML. It references all its styling from here, and all the code that's being run is in our JS file. Good. So just to show that this is actually working, what if we, for example, we got this wrong? Just so we put .cs or something. So that's referencing an invalid file, unable to open it. What would happen if we run that HTML? Let's have a look. There we go. It still works, just that the styling sheet isn't valid. Well, it can't find it, so it's just using the default styling. So it still works, just, yeah, it doesn't look very pretty. Okay. And what if we got our JS wrong? Well, it wouldn't function, would it? Yeah, it's not doing anything. So it's fairly obvious if you get those links wrong. Okay, just make sure it's back to normal. Great. That's probably a good stage to, that's a good spot to back up our work. So when you get new files in Tortoise HG, it'll do this. It'll show them in pink. You can just click on them, and it'll prompt you to add them. So we've got a new file there, new file there, and our original HTML. Separated HTML into CSS and JS files. Add selected untracked files. Yep. There we go. So from here on in, there'll be 3 files. Great. Right, with Favoured Class, what do we want the user to be able to do in our... Okay, so they've selected their race. They've selected their class. Well, ideally we want them to give them the option to select a different favoured class, don't we? Maybe as default we'd set the current class, because they do say that typically this is the same class as the one he chooses at first level. So I wouldn't say silly, but you'd almost be silly to choose a different class unless you had some other plan. So we'll always set the default to the current class, and we'll allow them to deselect that if they wish. Remember last time we mentioned that we want to use something similar to this. We want to use a checkbox method. The reason being is if you look at Half Elf, they've got this trait called multi-talented. Choose 2 favoured classes at first level. So at Half Elf would have the option of selecting 2 of them. So this would be ideal, something like this. Okay, so we can use that as a guide. First things first, we'll need a section to put this all in our HTML. So under class here, we'll create a new section, similar how we've got this one here for traits. For race, we've got a section called race traits. We'll do the same thing here. Just name it class traits. And that's all we have to do with our HTML. We probably don't need CSS open. Go into our JS file. Now where does this all occur? This all happens in set class, doesn't it? So just as we did for set race, if you go down to set race, we've got this builder trait string, don't we? And we're looping through something. We're going to do something very similar. Builder trait string, create a group of checkboxes for each of the core classes. So let's do a for loop. For var I equals 0, I is less than, we'll need to grab the keys from that object. Remembering our object is core class, isn't it? This one here. So it'll have a number of classes. It could vary in the future. So keys, well, class keys will equal object dot keys core class. So it'll grab all the keys from that, for example, barbarian, fighter, etc. Class keys dot length I plus plus. So what do we want here? Well, we want it to look similar to this, don't we? Bonus languages with a bracket. So we'll have like favoured class with a bracket and the number of favoured classes they must select. So if we go look at that method, I think it's update bonus languages. That's it. Here we go, create a group of checkboxes so that the player can select bonus languages. So we're going to do something very similar to this. We'll just grab all that. Not our language string, it'll be a trait string. Strong title, we'll need a title, won't we? Title, need to put one in there. Class, we'll call it class favoured. Favoured class, that's fine. Class favoured, plus it's not going to be our int mod, it's going to be, well, we'll have to write some logic here, won't we? Probably we should put this here, so we'll make a variable called number favoured classes, and that is equal, the only thing that it's dependent on, at least from the core rulebook, is that racial trait multi-talented, isn't it? So either they have that racial trait or they don't. So looking through their race, through their traits, now we want to check if it includes. So this is the same as saying contains in other languages, so includes, includes what? Racial trait, multi-talented. There we go. So if their race traits, which is an array, if that array includes the racial trait multi-talented, which is only half-elves at this stage, then they'll have 2 favoured classes. Otherwise, just 1. Okay, so that's our logic. Number of favoured classes in brackets. Yeah, good. We've got one too many for loops here, so we'll get rid of one of them. That's where we want that one. Get rid of that. Just move it up. Oops. Indentation. Okay. Yep, so that's fine. Var I equals 0, I is less than class keys dot length. Go away. The name will be what? It'll be the core classes. Core class. Remember, you can use square brackets when referring to an object. but you have to use its key in that square bracket. So we know the keys now, don't we? Class keys, and that will be class keys I, won't it? And all that dot name, that'll get the current class in the loop, in the iteration. The trait string, it'll be a checkbox. Now what are we going to call this? Fav class, that'll do. Fav class. I mean, you could, in theory, you could export all of these to constants or something if you wanted to make it a bit clearer for programming reasons, but I'm not going to. Fav class, it'll have a name, yep. Click Fav class. Now what do we want to pass? So similarly, we want to pass the name, don't we? But we also want to pass, well, we probably should pass this. So it's the maximum, isn't it? It's either going to be 2 or 1. You could do this logic in another place, but then we're doubling up on our code. So how about we just pass it? Okay, so let's go ahead and make this method. Oh, actually we need to output this trait string, don't we? So just as we've done in set race, output the trait string. It'll be called class traits. Remember we made that in our HTML. There. In HTML equals trait string. Great. Before we implement that class, let's just test that. Okay, there we go. We've got favoured class with a bracket. I'll open up our console. What happens when we click these? Yeah, we got a reference error. We haven't got the click fav class not defined. That's fine. We're not interested in that at the moment. So yeah, we can go ahead and click those. We've got this number that represents how many. So if we choose any of these classes, it should be the same. And if we choose half elf, which has multi-talented, yeah, we get 2. Great. So let's go ahead and create this method, click fav class, click, now we know it's going to take a fav class name, don't we? Because we've already used it as such, and we want it'll be taking the max, so depending on whether they have multi-talented or not. What does it do? Well, it'll be very similar to the click bonus languages, won't it? It'll be setting an array. Obviously it's not going to be called bonus languages, it'll be called fav classes. We'll go ahead and create that soon. Click checkbox, we called that fav class, didn't we? Fav class. Remember we can look at this anytime. Max allowed, well it's that max that we're passing. That's not what I wanted. Clicked name will be this fav class name, so that's the box they actually clicked at this point in time, and the object, the type, is the core class. Right, so that should handle our click box checking and our maximums and everything. We could check that. So there's basically only 2 things to check, either half elf or not half elf. Okay, so this is a not half elf. Yep, we can only click 1. And if we were a half elf, we should be allowed to click 2. Looking good. Now what's next? Well, remembering whenever a character gains a level in his favoured class, he receives either a +1 hit point or +1 skill rank. So if they have their current class, so just say their current class is Druid, and they have Druid as one of their favoured classes, then there should be an option here for them to select between +1 hit point or +1 skill point. So let's go ahead and implement that. First we need to initialize this fav classes, don't we? Sorry, declare it. Fav classes, just put it here will do. Good. Now, we'll need to create a section for the bonuses, won't we? So here we want to show or hide the fav class bonus. So we're not always going to show it. We'll only show it if they have their current class as their favoured class. Yep. Okay. So how about here? So this is in our set class function. How about here we create set up the fav class bonus section. It'll just be a span. So a span's an inline element. And it'll have an ID so that we can access it. Escaping our quotes, of course. Span with an ID. Fav class bonus. Should be okay, right? Close our span. Good. So let's get that. We'll call that element will equal document get element by ID fav class bonus. Now, how do we show or hide it? Well, it'll depend on the fav classes, won't it? So if fav classes contains, or includes in JavaScript, if it includes our current class, which it's our global variable core class. So if it includes our current class, then we want to show some radio buttons, don't we? Basically, it'll allow them to select between the two bonuses. Otherwise, what do we want to do? Well, we want to set that inner HTML to nothing, don't we? We don't want to show anything. So here, the elements inner HTML. Let's create the heading, strong, of course with angular brackets, strong, select, just you can type in some text here. You could outsource this to a title if you wanted to. Select your bonus. Actually, we will put that. We will put that into our title object. Dice speed title. What would we call this? Class fav bonus. Select your bonus. Okay. Plus, yep, so title, class, fav, bonus. Radio buttons. Input. Type equals type equals radio. Name will equal just fav bonus. What else do we need? Just an on-click method, don't we? On-click. JavaScript. Click. Fav class bonus. That'll do. And what do we want as a... What do we want as a parameter? For this one, we want hit point, don't we? So we'll put bonus hit point. That's our input, and we want the text. So our text will just be bonus hit point. If you look at our what that is, hit point. It's just a string, isn't it? Plus one hit point, so that'll be fine. And then we want to repeat all that, don't we? For the other bonus. On click, except that we'll be doing it for skill rank. Plus skill rank. That should be okay. Let's try it. Fighter? That's not working, is it? I see. Somewhere along the lines I must have pushed undo and lost our actual, we should be using core class, shouldn't we, as our type. Give that a go. Halfling fighter. Yep, it's showing up now. So if we deselect fighter, or select another class, it won't work, will it? We just need a break in there before we output it. So probably where we declared that span, we can just put a break before that. There we go. Give that a quick run. Fighter, yep, select your bonus. Druid, no, Druid doesn't, the other classes shouldn't work, whereas Fighter does. Okay, we haven't implemented that method yet. What if we select half elf? If we select two other classes, it shouldn't do anything. If one of them is Fighter, yep, it shows it, great. And we can't click beyond our limit. So what do we want to do here? Click Fav class bonus. Well, let's go ahead and implement that. Now it takes a bonus as a parameter, doesn't it? Fav class bonus equals bonus. How about we output, because we'll need to do this later, I suspect. To do apply fav class bonus. So we'll just leave a log in there for the time being and a to do. Fav class bonus equals bonus. That should work. So if we select fighter and one of these, +1 skill rank, +1 hit point, yep, that seems to be okay. Now, ideally, because remember they said for favoured class, typically this is the same class as the one he chooses at first level. So ideally we should default, whatever class they select here should be defaulted here, shouldn't it? I mean, otherwise it's just a waste of time them searching for their current class, cleric, and clicking that. We'll just default it, and if they want to turn it off they can, which is probably fairly rare. So the default situation should be they choose their class cleric, cleric is already selected and it's showing a defaulted selection here. So let's implement all of that. First of all we need to create this, don't we? Probably we should be showing that to prove that it's assigning it. That'll do. Let's go up and add that to our variable list. Right, now in set class, we want to set the default to the current class, don't we? Output the trait string. So how about we give an ID? So let's say between name and value, we'll put a something. We'll put something there, a condition actually. Put that condition in brackets. So what is the condition? So when the current class, which is our core class, when that equals the one in the iteration, so when our current class equals the current class inside this loop, so just say we selected fighter, then when this equals fighter we want to give it an ID, don't we? So we'll output ID, we'll need a space here, ID will equal, just call it fav class default. Fav class default. Otherwise, it'll just equal nothing, right? So when the core class is our current class, then give it an ID called fav class default. So after the trait string has been outputted, so after it's been set to the inner HTML, we can grab that class default and we can click it, can't we? So set the fav class default. So document get element by ID. Get element by ID, fav class default. What are we going to do with it? Check it, don't we? Checked equals true. And we also want to set favored, no, sorry. In effect, we want to click the favored class, don't we? Click favoured class, and it takes the class name, so that will be core class name, and the max, which is the number of favoured classes, isn't it? Let's see if that works. Good. So fighter has been clicked already. If I click on cleric, yeah, cleric is clicked. Barbarian is clicked. And of course they can deselect it if they wish. So just say I'm a druid. Oh, I don't want to be a druid as my favourite class. Deselect it, select cleric. That's fine. But if I go ahead and click druid again, it will work. So anything they select as a class will be defaulted now. Excellent. Now how about the next part? This, we want to select something here by default, don't we? That's that done. Click favoured class. Click favoured class bonus, isn't it? So this one here. Well, we want to select, how about we, in this part here, so where we show or hide the class bonus. So if we show it, select the default. Select the default as HP bonus or whatever. Just select the default. How about we give one of these an ID? We'll just say the first one is the default one. It doesn't really matter. Radio, fav, bonus, hit point, HP, that'll be fine. So select the default. So click fav class bonus. The bonus is bonus hit point, right? And we also want to set the UI. So document get element by ID. The one that we just wrote. So radio fav bonus HP, and we want to click that, don't we? Now when we hide this, we want to remove this bonus, don't we? We don't want this bonus to be. So when they don't select a favoured class, so when they don't select their current class as the favoured class, we just want to reset this. We don't want any favoured bonus. Let's give that a go. We'll see what happens. I think we've already got a console output, haven't we? So halfling, can speak a couple of languages. I would say they're a barbarian halfling. So their favourite class bonus at the moment is +1 hit point. Yeah. We can change it to +1 skill point, just so we don't want barbarian as our favourite class. We want druid. Click on druid. You see that the favoured class bonus up here is nothing. That's great. Unless they select it back to barbarian. Good. Now let's try half elf. Half elf. I'll clear all this. I'd have to select a bonus here first. So defaults to the current selection of fighter, so the half elf monk. Yep, monk's defaulted. Choose skill rank instead. Well, there's one small issue. If you click on these, it resets the default, but it's no biggie really. So as long as they've got monk as one of their favoured classes, they'll get this bonus. They can select that. And that's it. I think it's working well. That'll do us for today's tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.